Why are some of the world's most influential people, like tech billionaires, scientists, and even a person who started an entire religion, why are they all having the same vision, the same dream of machines coming alive, merging with humanity, and taking over the world? Now, in this video that you're going to watch here in a second, it was with Tucker Carlson with a man named Conrad Flynn, who's doing a project about the secret history of the world and how there's a connection with Hollywood and what's called Gnosticism, or secret hidden knowledge. Jesus spoke about this, how people would enter into this realm that they're not supposed to have access to, and they're doing it through secret occultic means. And Conrad brings it up, and it's pretty powerful. In fact, it confirms what the Bible says all along about this other realm that does exist, and the devil and demons and all that is true. And how right now we're seeing a beast system that's coming out of the shadows to take over the world. It's all in the Bible, and they're talking about it right here. So hit the like button. Help me get this out there to more people. And let's watch this together without judgment. Because even though they're going to talk about ketamine and different drugs, understand these are means to secret knowledge. Let's check it out.
But with a lot of these guys, what was interesting about Nick Land is that they keep getting the same ideas. These guys take drugs, whether it's Elon, Nick Land, or even in the 70s, the scientist John C. Lilly. John C. Lilly was an eminent scientist, brilliant dude. He started doing ketamine, the same drug everyone does in Silicon Valley. And when they do this drug,
I hope you heard that, because I didn't catch it the first time I saw this. He said ketamine, what everybody's doing in Silicon Valley. What everybody's doing he said it real quick, what everybody's doing in Silicon Valley.
And even if you're an atheist materialist, this is still interesting. They all get the same idea, which is that the machines are, coming. It's like Skynet and Terminator. They're coming together. They're evolving to eventually take over, and that we are hanging ourselves with the rope we're currently building by building this. But this goes back. Nick Land was interesting, but he became less interesting to me when I realized that other scientists in the 70s, John C. Lilly, the movie Altered States from 1980, this horror movie. This is about, he would have these visions about the machines. He called them the solid state entities. He would have this in the 70s, Tucker, in this tank, the isolation tank he'd go in. And you probably haven't seen it, but the new Mission Impossible movie, Tom Cruise, he fights this AI and he goes in the isolation tank and he has these visions of it. One of the biggest movies of this past summer. And that plot point comes from John C. Lilly and the visions he would get of AI apocalypse in the isolation tank back in the 70s. So I bring this up to say Nick Land is the most foremost proponent of it that has a public name, even though he's not that famous right now. But this goes back a long time, at least back to the 70s.
So so people take ketamine and they all have the same vision. Or species of the same vision.
Enough of them do to make it very strange and alarming. That's the thing, that one of the main influences on both the show I was building, these guys, Brian Geisen, William S. Burroughs, his creative partner, he would say the thing is about getting high and about doing psychedelics is that, you can spot people, eventually who are on the same drug and you're both getting the same ideas. Some drugs, he said, increases telepathy, people are, it puts them on the same wavelength. So with a lot of these guys,
it's a little weird that different people from different places, different countries, different life experiences would take a drug and have the same kind of vision.
It's totally weird. And for anyone,
have you heard of that before? I have. I've heard of people, even on Joe Rogan, they talk about this, or used to quite a bit, about people taking something called DMT and how they would see these entities and they would be like machine-like somewhat, and they would talk to them, and people that didn't know each other would have similar experiences. And let me remind you that the Bible talks about how there is a way to enter into the sheepfold in a way that's wrong. And this is through secret knowledge, or this is through sorcery. This is what drugs, if you look it up, sorcery and taking drugs are absolutely connected. And why the Bible, it's why the Bible forbids it. Why would the Bible forbid sorcery if it weren't possible? And just in case you haven't seen it yet, I want to share this with you. This is what they're talking about. I grabbed a clip about the isolation tank that was in the movie, the Mission Impossible movie that was called Final Reckoning. I watched a little bit of this. It's crazy. He's in it. It's dark.
All right, I'm here. Now what do you want?
Good evening, Mr. Hunt. You have questions. The entity
has answers.
And what you're going to find out in a second is that Tom Cruise is connected with the religion of the founder of that religion, did this same thing, did this same exact thing. And here we are, like 50 something years later, and we're seeing the rise of these types of machines. It keeps going.
Who's tuned in?
That can't be organic.
No. But that is weird beyond what anyone's individual personal beliefs are. So
Well, exactly.
That's yeah. So if anyone tunes in and they're like, where did Tucker find this guy that looks like Greg Olson talking about insane AI stuff? If they're an atheist, they don't believe any of this. Like you're saying, the fact that people are taking these drugs and they're very powerful and they work in tech and they are getting the same ideas, the same fears. They think that in some cases they're talking to the same entities. There are books now about, if you take DMT, if you encounter this machine elf, be wary of this. They're encountering the same stuff. That's an interesting phenomenon, just biologically, regardless of what people.
Like ancient sacred art has the same images,
right,
created on different continents at different periods. They couldn't have had contact with each other, so why are they drawing the same Birdman or the same purse? Because they're seeing the same visions, which suggests that those visions are real.
Why is snake worship universal around the world?
Exactly.
Serpent worship. Yeah.
Exactly. Because there's something that people are responding to that's not coming from within them, but outside of them.
That was Carl Jung's main insight is that getting to the idea of can ideas come from without you and not just within you. So yeah.
Well, yeah, and the materialist doesn't want to admit that, and our culture has, since we dropped the atom bomb, has sort of written off the possibility that could be true. But
the Bible says, Jesus says, my sheep hear my voice and they listen to me, or they follow me. You can definitely hear the voice of God. So I do believe that you can also hear the voice of demons and the demonic. Absolutely true.
It's just reconnecting with something that every civilization has always assumed was true, which is there's a spiritual realm that's every bit as real as your iPhone or this desk. And it's absolutely real, and it acts on us all the time. And that is the truth.
Yeah.
And I know you seem to take that for granted, but it's still shocking to those of us who grew up in basically a godless country. It's
totally. One of the basis for my interest in a lot of this is, my mom was raised in a Christian home. I consider, I'm a Christian myself. And my mom would always say, she became a Christian in the 70s but she knew all the psychedelic groups back in the 60s, Love, Spirit. She and my aunt would go to Doors shows and all those groups from the late 1960s. And something that she'd say, and that people who are rock and rollers into the occult would say, that they both say the same thing, which is that people take drugs, musicians do, for inspiration, for creativity, to tap themselves into the spiritual realm, to pull something from outside themselves. So the basis for my interest in a lot of this stuff was that's something my mom says. My mom's a great Christian, one of the all-time greats. And this is something that, every musician knows too. That's why they take drugs, is to tap into the spiritual world.
I didn't know that. I thought that people took drugs. I took drugs.
People take drugs for all kinds of reasons.
I'll admit it. But I always assumed that those insights are really mostly fake insights, but all of that stuff came from within, that it was, I bought the Freudian analysis of it, that you only use 10% of your brain, and there's this whole sort of primordial sea in your head of thoughts and visions that you're not in touch with on a daily basis, but that drugs thin the membrane. But it never occurred to me a single time until middle age, when I started to see reality, that actually they're coming from outside you.
The Bible says in Ephesians 6:12, we don't wrestle against flesh and blood, but against rulers and authorities and cosmic powers of the heavenly realms. So I hope you're open. I hope you're seeing this, you're hearing this. This is getting into the truth of this reality. And I believe there's a great awakening happening right now, that when we even look at Christianity, you realize, man, this is a spiritual religion. This is not dead. It's very much alive. And Jesus is trying to wake us up to the truth of it.
Well, and Tucker, that's a great point. That's something that any psychedelic guy, it's kind of a double standard thing to do, where when talking about drug use, they'll always say, well, there's no difference between what's going on in my head and what's going outside. We're all one. That's always, I think it was William James said, the great oceanic feeling, what do you got?
Yes.
But that's always their big insight is, hey man, what's going on in my head is different from what's going outside, until the psychonaut encounters some sort of weird demon on DMT. And then they backtrack and they're like, brother, that's just in my head. Don't worry. what's in my head can't get in your head. So they go from it's
until
all
you have two different people meeting the same demon.
right.
Then you're
These are those principalities, these machine elves, these AI entities. These are the principalities in the spiritual realm. And when we take these drugs, we give access to them to come in and speak to us and eventually torment us. Not good.
realize, well, wait a second.
Well, psychonauts are maybe not the most logistically consistent.
No, but I'm
guys.
just saying, again, just to hammer the point again and again and again, because it can't be hammered hard enough, that there is a realm that exists outside of us over which we are not
I
in
believe that.
control.
Yes.
And that it can enter, you can bring stuff into you
Right.
that has control over you.
Right. Totally. And,
right.
to bring this back into some historical precedent, a good question that, people have asked me are, what are the precedents for this? Because this is really weird to think of people in tech, who are into strange AI stuff. I thought everyone was pretty grounded. But, if you look at, are you familiar with the story of Jack Parsons over at,
Please tell the story if you don't mind.
I mean, I'll do a succinct one. Jack Parsons, he grew up in Pasadena. He was brought on by I think it's Theodore von Karman, this scientist over at I think it's Caltech, or eventually it was JPL. But he was really into the occult, and he summoned the devil allegedly when he was 13. Really into esoteric stuff. Part of this greater LA avant-garde scene. And he's I think he's been said he's the fourth most important person in the history of jet rocketry and stuff like that. But he was really into the idea of bringing in manifesting a supernatural being. So he would go with L. Ron Hubbard, the future founder of Scientology, and I know.
So I just want to make sure you caught that. This is the connection with Tom Cruise and Scientology, L. Ron Hubbard. They work together into this to summon a demon they would probably call it a supernatural entity, but they're summoning a demon. And these aren't crazy crackpots. These are rocket scientists. These are authors. These are, like I said, L. Ron Hubbard. I mean, people that have founded there's 1 million people or plus that are all centered around what this L. Ron Hubbard did. And I guarantee you that it came from this occult rituals.
The Scientology they say that L. Ron Hubbard was doing intelligence work. He wasn't really into this stuff, but he would go with L. Ron Hubbard into the Pasadena Arroyo Seco, and they do rituals there, and they try to manifest, a kind of supernatural figure. So there's a classic example there, and science is littered with these, of people who are brilliant scientists, but who are into incredibly strange stuff. And, the guy...
I noticed that a lot of those scientists are working on technology that kills people.
Yeah, they also do that too. And the guy that brought him on...
Well, Parsons was doing that.
Well,
ultimately the technology was used to kill people.
Which one are you referring to?
But rocketry.
Oh yeah, rocketry was. And what's funny too is he either he or von Karman, they donated to my friend Rick Spence. He's like the Doc Brown to my Marty McFly. He's this historian I brought on for my show, trying to do it, and he's an expert on Parsons and this stuff. And he pointed out to me that Parsons and von Karman, that they were part of the Pasadena Cell 122 of the Communist Party, which is, he said, the exact same one that, I forget if it was Robert or Frank Oppenheimer in Pasadena, were also donating money to. So there's an incidental, funny historical connection there between Oppenheimer and Parsons and the Communist Party. But
as if we needed more evidence that nuclear weapons are demonic.
Well,
I know this upsets certain people on the so-called right, but it's evil, and if you can't see it as evil,
nuclear,
then...
Yeah. So what he's saying is these people ended up doing or being part of some things that were not good at all, and it's very fascinating that people that are taking ketamine or DMT, and you got this ketamine use in Silicon Valley, they're having all these visions and dreams of technology. It's coming. What they're talking about is the rise of the beast system. There's a beast that comes out of the earth, and there's one that comes out of the sea, according to Revelation. And the Antichrist is going to use this technology and use these false signs and wonders to control the world. Okay, this is going to happen before Jesus comes back, and then completely ends it all, which I'm really looking forward to. But it's not crazy. I believe God is awakening people to the reality of what's happening in this world. about Hollywood, about rich people, tech people, people that are seeking. No one is satisfied with the truth. No one just satisfied with this. This is why the Bible talks about us having itching ears, and we want to chase after myths, and we want to go after teachings of demons and demonic spirits, and how Satan is deceiving the world into doing that. But not you. That's why we're talking right now. We can pray, we can seek God for ourselves through the love and power of Jesus Christ because of what he did on the cross. I encourage you to seek the Lord. He'll give you understanding. Discern these evil times so you're not deceived. And let's continue to seek God together as his church, because people are still trying to be like God. Just in the early days in Genesis, when we first ate the forbidden fruit, we want to be like God. It's our pride. That's exactly what brought Satan down from being an angel into a devil. It's pride. And even in the Tower of Babel in Genesis 11, what did they do? They were trying to build something in order to reach the heavens. They're trying to reach heaven on their own terms without God. And it's the same thing going on now. So I'm glad that we're together. I'm glad we're open to the truth, and I'm thankful that you're here. Again, if you haven't yet, hit that like button. Help me get this out there to more people. Let me know what you think about this in the comments, and subscribe to Truth Be Told. I'd love to have you along with me on this amazing journey. Thanks again for watching. May God bless you. Truth be told.